You don't know what a treat it is to look out and see an audience this size here in Cincinnati to participate in this program. Congratulations to all of you, particularly the ones that just came for the day, so that you can be a part of this. It's a real honor to have the opportunity to introduce our speaker today. John joined Rotary in 1976, as you can see in his bio that you had at your table. And he's held just about every office that's possible in his Rotary career. And this is possible because he knows how to get things done. He learned how to sell while he was in college at the University of Tennessee when he worked at the National Shirt Shops. After the service, his field became engineering, but it didn't take him long to master the technique of raising money for charitable groups. It's said that when someone would see John coming, they'd take out their wallet, open it up, because they knew that if they didn't, they were going to have to before he'd walk away. An interesting story that I heard happened one day in Chattanooga when he and a friend went to see a seer. And you know what a seer is? That's a person that can foresee into the future. Well, I think they were representing the March of Dimes, but John told them the story, why they needed the money. And the seer excused himself, went in the other room. A few minutes later, came back carrying a brown paper bag, handed it to John and says, "I know this is for a good cause." Can you imagine the surprised look on his face when he opened it up and there was cash inside? $10,000 in cash. Wow. Is that about right? Well, it was this get-it-done attitude that helped John become the chair of Rotary's U.S. $200 million Challenge Committee to eradicate polio in the world. And did he stop at $200 million? No, sirree, Bob. I don't know it for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Gates doesn't call him periodically and say, "Can I give more?" John is passionate about the Polio Plus program. Some of you may not be aware that John personally purchased a barrel of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey, had it bottled and labeled Sergeant Select in honor of the late Bill Sargent, who was a well-known Tennessee Rotarian who headed up the Polio Plus organization for many years. Now, John gave away these bottles. For a minimum donation of $1,000. And all the proceeds went to the Polio Plus program, and he raised about $250,000. Now, many of these bottles were auctioned off at considerably more than the asking price, and some of them have even been donated back and auctioned off a second or a third time. Some of the Rotarians in this room are well aware of that. Now, there have been naysayers who insisted that polio couldn't be eradicated from the earth, but it can. And it's going to get done because John is pushing Rotarians everywhere not to give up. A few weeks ago, I was introduced to a limerick that I think fits John perfectly. I haven't been able to find out who wrote it, but I'd like to share it with you. It couldn't be done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he'd be the one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with the trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one has ever done it." But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing he knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done. And he did it. There are thousands to tell you, and it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy the future and failure. There are thousands to point out to you, one by one, the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done. And you can do it. Well, John can do it. He's shown that he can do it. And here he is from District 6780, Rotary Zone 30, your friend and mine, the 2016-17 Rotary International President, John F. Germ.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Thank you very much. Man, it is great to be home. You know, when people I can understand what you're saying. And as Judy says that we don't have to brush our teeth with bottled water. And sometimes I know what I'm eating. But it is great to have the opportunity to represent you around the Rotary world. You know, there are so many good things that's going around the Rotary world, and as we think about and we look at this crowd here and we think about the wonderful food that we've had and the beverages that we've had, and we think about all of a sudden the people around the world that don't have clean water, and Rotary is certainly working on that. And we think about the story that David Forward told this morning and about all of the work that he's doing and the books that he's written. If you hadn't got one of his books, you need to get one, because it does have a lot of the history about the Rotary Foundation in there. But many of you know that if you read the bio, which I hope you did, you'd get probably very boring, but you know that my classification in Rotary is engineering. And you probably don't know there's about as many different classifications of engineering as there are classifications within Rotary. But I'm a mechanical engineer. And I'm one of those guys that carries around a lot of pencils in a pocket and carries calculators and slide rules, of those of you that are old enough to remember slide rules. and instruction manuals that talks about how you do things and everything. But I'm also one of those guys that tries to calculate the heating and cooling requirements for a building like this. Tried to calculate to be sure that the hot water pipe don't go to the drinking fountain, that it does function as it's supposed to. And you know, there's a lot of jokes about engineers, and you probably can't tell one that I haven't already heard, but that's okay. Because have you ever thought about the engineer that may have designed this building? Have you ever thought about the traffic engineer that decides what the lights are going to do outside, whether it's going to be green or red or whatever? Have you ever thought about an engineer when you put your key in your ignition and you turn it and it starts? They affect you every day of your life. You're trusting people that you do not know. You're trusting them that when you walk across the street, that before it says walk, that the other light is red and the car stops. You trust them that the elevator is going to go up when it's supposed to. And isn't that the same thing that happens in Rotary? People are living better, safer, healthier lives because of people that are in this room. You don't know them. You'll never meet them. But they are living better because of what you are doing every day. You're allowing these people to live better and safer, because in every part of the world, people depend on each and every one of us to help make their lives better as we serve humanity. They don't know probably that Rotary even exists, but they are drinking clean water from boreholes that Rotary dug. They're learning to read in schools with books, just as was given here today, that Rotary donated. They're being able to wash their hands with clean water because Rotary provided that water through a wash basin. And they're learning to sing songs that say, wishy, wishy, washy, 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 because they're learning proper hygiene, because Rotary cared enough to serve humanity. X-ray machines that are being installed because to keep a lady or a man from having to walk 4 to 5 hours to find out what is wrong with them because you became involved. Or how about a laser eye surgery piece of equipment that your funds help donate so that they can have proper eye care? Or how about a little baby that is 4 or 5 weeks old that is having open heart surgery because Rotary became involved? And how about all the people that are living lives free from that polio virus because Rotary saw an opportunity and seized that opportunity to do something good, and we are doing that through Rotary serving humanity. But my friends, we're at a crossroads in Rotary, and this could be the greatest year for the history of Rotary. This could, in fact, be the year, as was mentioned earlier today, that polio finally falls. And that we can, in fact, say that Rotary took on a challenge in 1979, and that we've stayed with it. And we're going to stay with it until we have that last case of polio. All of Southeast Asia is free. And that was something that when Judy and I were in Bihar, we never thought would ever happen. An area that they have over 500,000 births a month. And yet we have to reach every one of those children. Every one of them. In order to eradicate polio. 3 countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. They are working extremely hard, and we're trying to do everything we can, as with our partners, to be sure that we do reach that last child. Unfortunately, we thought we were through in Nigeria, but we're not. And yesterday, they announced 4 more cases in Nigeria. Yes, we should say, isn't that terrible? But what we also should say, that simply shows that until the last case, until we reach that last case, that virus can show up anywhere. This is a 2011 virus. It's in the state of Borno. It's an area has wars and turmoil and all of the things that we've been reading about in the papers, about all the girls that have been stolen and have been put in different areas of the world. But we can do it because Rotary is serving humanity. But just when we reach that last case, our job is not through. We must continue for at least 3 years after that. 3 years, so that we can be sure that the world is certified polio-free. We started this thinking it's going to cost $120 million. Well, boy, did somebody miscalculate. They obviously wasn't an engineer and didn't have a slide rule. If I ever made an error like that, I'd have been fired a long time ago. But that just shows you that sometimes it's endurance that we must have, that we must continue with what we're working on. Yes, we've spent a lot of money. We spent about 1.8 billion Rotarian dollars. But 2.5 billion children can walk, can run, can crawl, and can play because of what you've done. And it's going to take us about 1.24 billion more to finish this job. And John Sailors is somewhere in the audience, and he's working on an advocacy program because we can't do all that money ourselves. We can help. The Gates Foundation is matching what we're doing 2-to-1 up to 35 million a year, so we can get 70 million that money to do. But the governments of the world are our partners in this also. And the U.S. government just recently, and even though they're a malfunctioning government right now, well, they did give Rotary $270 million, not to Rotary, but to they gave it to CDC and USAID to help us with our fight for polio. So let's be thankful for people like John and Jim Lacey and others that are working very hard. Ann Lee over here is on that committee working very hard to help us raise that necessary money. Because it is the dollars that's important, but it's the child, as you heard this morning, that is the most important. If we can stop and keep one child from being crippled, we've done it. But let's fast forward for 3 years. So 3 years from now, there is no more polio in the world. Rotary is getting a lot of credit. The headlines are saying, Rotary helps eradicate polio from the face of the earth. People are reading the newspapers. It's on the news. It's in television, everywhere. And somebody says, what is Rotary? What is Rotary? How can I become a Rotarian? I want to join an organization that can have an impact like that. Are we ready for it? Are we in our clubs? Are our clubs inviting? Or is our clubs relevant to today's times in the world today? We need to take that opportunity to leverage more partnerships, to do more things, to get greater growth, to get more ambitious service through our other areas of service that we can do in order to improve lives around the world. Yes, we need to be known for what we've done, but isn't there so much more work out there that we need to do? We've got to attract more people to our organization. We've got to change. Change is hard. Change is difficult. But we need to be sure that we are an organization that is inviting to other people. We need to be sure that people who share our values want to join our organization. That they realize that Rotary is a place that they can help change the world. That's not just at Rotary International. That's at the local Rotary Club level, because that's where it has to be. We need to be more flexible in our organization. Judy and I were just in Greece, and we said they got districts over there that are less than 1,100, and so they know they got problems. And I said, okay, what is your problem? What do you feel is keeping you from attracting more members to join your organization? And they said, it's cost. Yeah, and they've got an unemployment rate of 22% over there. Among the young people, it's 50%. And I said, well, what are you doing about cost? When do you meet? They said, well, we meet every night, once a week at night. And it's a social event. And I said, well, what does it cost for your social event? And they said, well, it's about 25 to 30 euros per person. And I said, well, you say it's a social, so is the spouses invited? They said, oh yeah, they're invited. And I said, you know, that's 25 euros, that's 50 for a couple, if you use the low number. You take that times 50 weeks, and yeah, you're talking about a lot of money. I said, have you ever thought about just doing one social per month and then just having regular meetings? Oh, we can't do that, that's not tradition. We have traditions in the United States just exactly like that. And we have people that say we can't change because that's tradition. And if we don't change, and if we don't become more flexible and more inviting, we will not be Rotary. Last year, the Council on Legislation took some great steps in order to allow clubs to be what they want to be, to do what they want to do, to have the best communities and the best service that they can do. But it takes that local club, and it takes those local members to be willing to make those changes to become more attractive, to build a membership that is really reflective of the communities that we serve, with more women and men in them, retirees, working people, a diversity of ages, skills, and backgrounds. We can do it if we decide that we want to do that. And we can do that with still being true to our core values that define us as Rotarians. Because the reason Paul Harris founded Rotary over 111 years ago is still very much the same reason that we have Rotary today. To find people who share their values, people who believe in honesty, diversity, tolerance, friendship, and peace. People who believe that serving humanity is the best thing that they can do with their time on this earth. So whether you're reading to school children, or whether you're building a clinic or fighting polio, even as we change and adapt in today's world, we move forward with the essence of who we are, and what makes a Rotarian does not change. We still are based on a classification system because our diversity is our strength. We hang the four-way test on our walls because high ethical standards never go out of style. And we believe that serving humanity is the best worthwhile thing that any one of us can do with our lives. But we need to seek new partnerships. We need to open ourselves up to more collaborative relations with other organizations. We need to realize that service to humanity is the best work of life. Well, we've also got to have continuity within our leadership. Because there's one thing that we've learned from polio, is that if we want to go as far as we can, we have to be moving in the same direction. We all have to be serving humanity. We're doing so much. I could look out here and I could go to every district, every club, and you could tell me all the wonderful projects that you're doing. And I can tell you that just recently, we were in an area where they closed the entire town down. Shut the streets, put chairs in it. We were on a big platform. And I didn't think about all the guards that were out there. I know Judy didn't because she had her back to them, but they were there because Rotary had provided an x-ray machine in this town. Rotary had provided this x-ray machine, and they were so proud that they were having this x-ray machine that they could tell what was happening to an individual. shut the street down. The mayor gets up and he talks about what was going on and how proud it was, and the doctor was there, and the doctor really had the town in the palm of his hand because he was the one that they really to. And he thanked Rotary. And then the mayor's there, and he's talking, and he said, you know, this is the most dangerous community in our country. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I doing here? You know. But it was because of you that we were able to be there to see how that they could use telemedicine to now keep someone from 8 to 10 hours of being diagnosed and then having a piece of cardboard placed on their chest, put in an ambulance, and driven away to go to a hospital to find out what was really wrong with them. They can now do it in that community because of what you did. And there's stories like that all around the world. In Chandigarh, India, we went into a hospital, and there these little babies were that were from Nigeria, Ethiopia, and other places that were being operated on because you made a difference in their life. We can do so much more. We have 600 people in this room today. What if we had 1,200? What if we had 1,800? What if we had those more caring hearts, those more willing hands that could go out there and do these projects, that they were more willing to try new things? And we were thinking out of the box, and we moved away from traditions, and we started saying, what can we do the best that we can with the talents that God gave us to serve humanity in a better way? Well, we're in this together. We're not alone. There are 1.2 million of us, plus our spouses and our children, that are out there trying to serve humanity the best we can do. And if one of us scores, it's kind of like a sports in some cases. You know, an assist is just as important as scoring the goal, because the goal we have is the one that we all share, which is to transform the lives of people who need our help the most. Every day that you serve in Rotary, you have an opportunity to change lives. Those opportunities might look small. You might sometimes think that what you do doesn't matter, but they're not small, and everything that you do in life, in fact, does matter for this generation and the generations to come. One good work at a time, one day at a time, in your club, in your community, and in your vocation, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a manager, or whether you're an engineer. That's what we're here for in Rotary. That's what we do. That is our responsibility for each one of us when we accepted wearing this Rotary pin, that we would do the best that we can do to serve humanity, as much as we can, as well as we can, to change as many lives as we can for the better. Not alone, not as individuals, but as a team. Together, everyone achieves more, and we can do that by building our future together. Paul Harris had a vision when he started Rotary. Arch Clump had a vision when he dreamed of the foundation. Sir Clem Renoff had a vision when he asked the question, is there something that we can do of the magnitude when smallpox had been eradicated? Helen Keller was once asked, Mrs. Keller, is there anything worse than being blind? She looked, she couldn't see, but she said, yes, to be able to see, but to have no vision. What is your vision? What is your vision for your community? What is your vision for Rotary? Former chaplain of the United States Senate once said, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. That what I can do, I ought to do. And that what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do. We, in fact, can build a better world through Rotary serving humanity. Thank you.